And now it is time for the order of the day, and I turn the podium to Jocelyn, and it's up to you. Thank you.
Hello. So raise your hand if you ate a donut for me. Thank you. Thank you for eating those donuts for me. I appreciate that. All right. So my name is Jocelyn Wildright, Minister of the Word and Sacrament. And I'm here today as the chair of the Strategic Planning Leadership Team for the Presbytery. In just a minute, my slides are going to appear on this screen. We'll give Jared a minute. In the meantime, so the Strategic Planning Leadership Team is a group of members of this presbytery who is working with our consultant team through Ministry Architects. We started this process this spring. We'll talk a little bit about that. Oh, yeah. Oh, see, that shows the presenter view. Well, we'll talk a little bit about where we've been and where we're going. I will say this is an update. This is not the end of a process. This is like 1/3 of the way through. So no, we do not have final, finished, done, complete, stamp on it stuff. This is an update so that y'all know exactly where we have been and are going. I really do apologize to Jared, who is running our technology, for not testing this ahead of time. That's still the presenter view, Jared. Well, as we get started, first, I will go ahead and offer a congratulations, because this presbytery this morning adopted a new mission statement and values and goals. So can we give a round of applause to you guys? Yeah, so you'll find in your packet on the pages of the consent agenda our new mission statement, our values, and then a set of 3-year revolving goals. We are so excited about the pathway that this has sent us on and the many voices that were a part of shaping this vision. The mission statement and the values and the goals were developed after a process, or as a part of a process. So the Ministry Architects consultants did a series of listening sessions starting in winter of 2023, and they did listening sessions with folks across the presbytery. In April of this year, we hosted a visioning summit out at Ferncliff with various committee leadership members and folks from across the presbytery and presbytery staff. And the draft versions of these came to the strategic planning leadership team. We put those together and brought them to the June presbytery meeting, where y'all looked through them and offered comments and feedback, which came back to the strategic planning leadership team, which we then distilled and edited and provided for this meeting for adoption. So perfect. Thanks, Jared. This looks great. So Jared, could you go to the next slide? Yay! And if you keep going, Jared, there's some like other things that pop up here because we did a lot. Yeah, great, perfect. And then the next one is the timeline. That gets a little washed out. But that's the timeline of where we are now. Good job, us. And then the next one is where I am right now. Perfect. So the new mission statement says, the Presbytery of Arkansas inspires and connects congregations and their leaders, equips people of every generation to hear and respond to God's call in Jesus Christ, and fosters innovative expressions of ministry in response to the needs of a changing world. Doesn't that sound good? That was written by a committee. I love it. All right, now on the next slide, you'll see some of our values. I really should have picked something other than yellow, huh? Our values are listed also on those pages in the packet. Each of these comes with a description, which you'll find there under each word in the packet. And the next slide, Jared. Perfect. Gets us into our goals. So here's the thing that's different about these goals. These are starter goals. The point of these goals is that they evolve and change year to year. And so they're termed revolving goals, with the sense that every year you're looking 3 years ahead and asking, what's the thing we can do in 1 year to get there? So our process here moving forward will be that rather than saying, we're going to sit down and say where we want the presbytery to be in 10 years and then not look at that again for 5 or 6, we're going to look at these every year and be asking the question, what do we need to do to better serve the world today? And what is it going to take to get there? So the goals in this that you see in your packet and that we'll talk about today are not in order of value. Like, they're not in order of importance or timeline. They're just compiled into groupings that make sense, like things that go together. So some of these categories, we have receiving new life, deepening financial health, repurposing property. And then the fourth category, building capacity and culture, is like more of a heading, and there's some subcategories in there. So in each of these areas, we have some goals. So in receiving new life, our goal for 3 years from now is that 5 congregations have completed a needs assessment and a revitalization process that's sponsored by the Presbytery or one of its partners. So we're setting that goal, but we're saying, what's it going to take to get there? So for 2025, our goal is that a revitalization process for churches in the Presbytery is designed, and it's approved for prototyping in the Presbytery. So receiving new life, we're talking about thinking revitalization, thinking supporting churches in doing new things and growing. The category titled Deepening Financial Health is thinking about the financial health of the Presbytery. So our 2027 goal for that one, again, these are all in your packet under the consent agenda. The 2027 goal for deepening financial health is that we have a clear financial fundraising plan and that we have received $100,000 in grant funding at least, and that we have other initiatives going on for fundraising. So a 2025 benchmark, a sub goal to kind of get us there, is that we come up with a fundraising plan, that it's drafted and then it's approved, and that in 2025, we name a missional priority and invite members of the Presbytery to contribute to that cause. So you'll see there's steps along this way. Yeah, there we go. Our next section kind of area is on repurposing property. And this is both property in the terms of like your church buildings and also property in the sense of like Presbytery's use of property. So our 2027 goal there is that 3 Presbytery properties, so churches, folks, organizations in this Presbytery, have been supported by the Presbytery to creatively repurpose their property in ways that increase their mission and contribute to their ongoing financial health. I think the question here is often like, don't you wish that your building could not only help with your mission, but also help with your budget instead of hurt it? So a 2025 benchmark for that is that we have identified congregations in this Presbytery who are interested in that help. Congregations who want to think about using their church properties creatively, differently, uniquely. And that in 2025, we would have a draft of a process, a property opportunity assessment that's ready for prototyping. And then in our fourth category, next slide, Jared. Perfect. We've got some sub-goals here. So the big category here is capacity and capability building. And so the 2027 goal for that is kind of this big umbrella one. Momentum has been built within the Presbytery by tending to the creation of fundamental infrastructure needed to execute on the broad range of desired priorities, such that the Presbytery will be ready to move into a rhythm of revolving 3-year goals and 1-year benchmarks. So under that umbrella of like, we're thoughtful about how we do things, we've got some areas and different pieces of that work that we want to be doing to support our churches. And the first one of these, I shouldn't say first, One of these subcategories is support for our small churches. So we have in a 2025 benchmark of that the Presbytery has a clear understanding of how to work in collaboration with thriving in ministry and thriving congregations, that we have representatives of every church in the Presbytery with an average worship attendance under 20, having at least 4 conversations in the previous year with a supportive, collaborative representative from the Presbytery. We also have under this category innovation. Under innovation, we have some things like an incubation process for new expressions of ministry has been designed and approved for testing. We have adding structures for supporting the emergence of new worshiping communities. We also have an assessment process for areas that may be good areas to start new worshiping communities in partnership with 1001. We have some other pieces here like considering alternative metrics for ministry. So this is like, how do we gauge the health of a congregation in ways that are not just numbers? Then we have some clarity around the grant funding that the Presbytery has available for folks and make sure that that's really available. And then we also have a game plan or like a process for launching a young adult leadership core in the Presbytery, getting that drafted and put together. The next one is culture building. So in culture building, we have some benchmarks around telling stories of our new worshiping communities, lifting up diverse voices and making sure we're moving towards inclusion. We have a benchmark here that at Presbytery meetings, we're including stories of marvelous work happening throughout the Presbytery. We also have in here that we have a process for always sharing these kind of stories. Another piece of this is lifting up our Presbytery policy for endowment funds and designated funds and how we use those moving forward, and making sure that we have supplemental support for churches in paying pension dues. As you know, the Board of Pensions shifts that have been made for 2025 are hitting churches hard. And then in our category on leadership cultivation here, our benchmarks are around figuring out all the different ways that our churches are being led. We have a variety of pastoral leadership models utilized in this Presbytery, and we want to start thinking about non-traditional models of leadership and how the Presbytery can support folks in that. Also in this is intentionally developing a pipeline for developing leaders. And those could be a variety. When we say leaders, that might be CREs, that might be MDivs, that might be bivocational, trivocational ministry. It could be a lot of things. Another thing that we've talked about here is initiatives for deepening the spiritual and emotional health of pastors, ministry staff, and church officers. And so some initiatives there for 2025 would come up also in that category. So I know that was a lot. Luckily, you have it all typed and handy in your packet. But those start us breaking down all the different things that we want to be moving towards. And again, these were created after listening sessions from you. These are your ideas. And now we get to start thinking about how to make it happen. So next slide, Jared. What I want you to do is turn to a neighbor and ask each other the question, which of these areas makes you most excited? And if you're on Zoom, I want you to write in the Zoom chat, which of these areas makes you most excited? Go. One through four. And 4 is the one with the subcategory. Great. Perfect. I really should have tested it because the yellow, like, yeah. No, it's gold. It's dark gold. Yeah. All right, finish up those conversations and we'll come back together. Okay, we're gonna take a quick informal poll. Quick informal poll, mostly out of curiosity. I want to see a raise of hand if the area that most excites you is repurposing property. Oh, yeah. And you can raise your hand on Zoom too with the little hand feature. Okay, I want to know which of you are most excited about deepening financial health? Thanks, Joel Gill. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, which of you are most excited about receiving new life? Yeah, awesome. Okay, what about small church support? Yes.
There were a
yes.
lot. There were a lot online with small church
Yes.
support.
Culture building. Yes. Thanks, Presbytery staff. Leadership cultivation. Oh, yeah. In the back. Okay. Innovation. All right. All right. Awesome. Yeah, we too on the SVLT are so excited about many of these areas and about many of the goals that we're working towards. Jared, could you put my next slide up? This is a work in process. So we are in the process of starting to work on various pieces here. As a broad description of the phase we're in, we are gathering input from across the presbytery. We're in the section where we are listening and gathering information to add in to plans so that we can start work on a lot of these things. So we're inviting folks into the process of developing what is next and how are we going to get there and who is going to be able to get us there. Are you ready for some updates? Yeah? Yeah? All right. These are in no particular order, not in order of value, not in order of importance. They're in the order they were in my worksheet. Okay, great. So first, looking at the third goal from our 3-year revolving goals, is creative property use. So this kind of work area that we're working on is around supporting churches utilizing their properties in creative ways. Thanks. So these are identifying churches who might be interested in this, coming up with a property opportunity assessment. That one's just really hard to say for me. Property opportunity assessment. So currently, Jared, we are working on identifying churches who need or would be interested in support in how to utilize their church building in new ways. We have sent to the Presbytery, Julie Price has made sure to email to every single one of you, a visioning survey. And on this visioning survey, we asked for a lot of information, but one of the pieces on that survey is to let us know if your church congregation might be interested in working with some Presbytery help on how to use your building differently. So please do that survey. We are also working with ministry architects. This is our consulting team on drafting that church property assessment. So I'll go ahead and tell you, we have seen a first draft of it at our last SPLT team meeting. And so we're working on tweaking that and moving that ahead. We're also working on creating a list of experts who might be ready to assist churches through this process. Ministry Architects has a lot of national connections, but we want to add into that local folks, especially folks who have expertise in this area. So on the next slide, how you can help. Do you know experts in this presbytery who can help churches with missional repurposing? So when we're talking experts, we're saying real estate agents, affordable housing specialists, preschools in churches specialists, developers, consultants. Maybe these are church members, maybe these are folks your church already has a relationship with. But if they're folks that you would recommend, we would super, super love that contact. And so what you can do is take a picture of this slide as a reminder and send those contacts to us at jocelyn@ferncliff.org. Also, if you are someone who is passionate about this work, you love creatively thinking about how spaces can be used or walking alongside churches as they're exploring partnerships, we would love your contact info. So what you can do is take a picture of this slide and send that contact info to me at jocelyn@ferncliff.org. And last but certainly not least, you could fill out the visioning survey. Next slide, Jared. If you have not done the visioning survey, here is a convenient QR code for you. You can use it on your phone right now to open it up and save it. You'll have time to do that throughout the lunch hour today, and we would love for you to fill that out. This QR code can also be found in a variety of places in the fellowship hall. Julie has placed it kind of everywhere, and we love that. So, creative property use. Now, we're gonna give it just a second. Get my QR code. Yeah. Now, speaking of creative property use, one thing our team is also doing is thinking creatively about some property that the Presbytery has. So Jared, if you could pop that to the next one. Awesome. So we are looking at repurposing the Rodney Parham property that houses the Presbytery offices currently. So one thing that we have heard in the assessment phase and in the listening phase is that the building on Rodney Parham is underutilized. A lot of our Presbytery staff work remotely, and there's opportunity maybe for that building to be used differently, either for Presbytery work or rented or leased. So, or sold. So we're working with Grace Presbyterian Little Rock, where the property is adjacent, on options for the use of that property and making sure we fully understand what those options are before we take any sort of steps. So just to be clear, we have not made any decisions about this and we have no motions, but we are exploring options for that property on Rodney Parham. All right, next one, Jared. Lovely. In the area of prioritizing diversity and inclusion, one area we're working on is working with underrepresented populations to better amplify their voices within the Presbytery. So you find this in goal 4, one of those benchmarks about halfway down. So some things we're currently doing, Jared. Great. I hope you enjoy hearing your name a lot, Jared. Great. We have been hosting diversity ideation listening sessions. So we've met recently with the Arkansas Black Caucus, and we've got some other groups we're reaching out to. We're also taking a good look at the current roles and responsibilities of the Committee on Representation to see what that structure could be in the future and what options are available for the future work towards full inclusion of all people in our presbytery. So how you can help, Jared? Perfect. Do you know of a church, a committee, a program, or a person that does a fantastic job of inclusion or has an incredible ministry for a specific population? If so, you can take a picture of this slide and you can send that to Julie at julietannerprice@gmail.com. And or do you know experts in this presbytery in diversity and inclusion? This might look like DEI staff at a for-profit business or a university. This may just look like somebody who's really passionate about diversity and inclusion and equity. So you can take a picture of this slide and you can send the contact info to julietannerprice@gmail.com. And next slide, Jared. If you yourself are a person who's passionate about this work, please send your contact info to me. You can take a picture of that slide and send that to me at jocelyn@ferncliff.org. And guess what? There's a question about this in the visioning survey. So, Jared, if you need that QR code, here it is. So yes, please fill out that survey and let us know if you or someone in your congregation is really good and passionate at this work. All right. Yes. Absolutely. What you're going to do is you're going to go right out that door. You're going to say, Julie Price. And she's going to say, I have a computer. I got you. If, however, you do have a phone and you want to try and pull it up, what you'll do is you open your camera on your phone, point it at this screen, and a little pop-up of a web address is going to pop up. You're going to hit it, and it's going to open a Google form that says visioning and have a lot of questions. You can fill it out there. Awesome. All right, Jared, take us to the next one. Lovely. Our next area is creatively cultivating leadership for churches. So what we're doing is exploring sustainable options for church pastoral leadership and intentional cultivation of future leaders for our congregations and churches. So what we're doing currently, Jared, is identifying the variety of models being utilized in our presbytery already and identifying the current pipelines is a word for like, how did you get here? To pastoral leadership that's being used in our presbytery. And we're working with the thriving and ministry groups to understand all the ways that they are offering help in those pipelines and cultivating those leaders. So, Jared, are you someone who's passionate about this work? If you are a person who loves to think creatively about church staffing and the ways that we can support our congregations, and or a person who loves walking alongside folks discerning and thinking about how to use their gifts to serve God's people, take a picture of this slide and send your contact info to the SBLT at jocelyn@ferncliff.org. And in terms of the ways that your church is currently being led, we would love to hear about that through the visioning survey, Jared, which you can find a QR code for here. All right. Jared, take us to the next one. This time, I want you to turn to a group and I want you to ask them the question, how did you get here? And not just like in life, but like, how did you get to the point where you are at a presbytery meeting for the Presbytery of Arkansas? What kind of pipeline did you follow to get into church leadership? And I want you to pay attention for what is similar or different between your story and the folks you're talking to. Now on Zoom, I want you to type that in the group Zoom chat. And I want y'all to be reading what other folks are writing and looking for those things that are similar and different. And we are going to download those to have those to the SPLT as well. So go.
and sent you one of the things that I'd be glad to lead. As a matter of fact, it happens to be one that I was talking to Ministry Architects about. It's culture building number 5 about endowments.
Yes.
How do we take our funds and what do we do with it? How do we spend it? Just so you know, I've already taken your challenge.
Hey, if somebody's thinking about spend rate, that would be great. Don't forget to be looking for those similarities. Don't forget to be looking for those similarities between multiple people's stories. My computer is barely making it today and I need it to stay right where it is. So we're gonna come back together in 30 seconds. About engagement. I feel like I should have a buzzer. Brr. That's my buzzer. Brr. All right, let's come back together. And Jared, could you put up my my shout out slide? Oh, we're gonna start with one. Yeah, the one right after that. And one more. Yeah, there. Okay, shout it out. What are some steps you heard on more than one person's pipeline and journey? Tell me what you got. Shout it out. So somebody affirming your gifts. Awesome. That's a step we heard on multiple people. What else we got? Campus ministry. Campus ministry, we're hearing on a couple people's pipelines. Perfect. What else? Camp. I love this one. Ooh, Presbyterian family heritage. Great.
Online, we have that people were stepping up when they saw a need.
Ooh, stepping up in response to a need.
Yes, and being asked.
Ooh, being asked. Ooh, longevity in a church. Yeah, being around for a while. Mentors. Yes. Anything else you heard on more than one person's journey? Ooh, God's persistence. What was that one? Learning the hard way. Connecting new members with older members who'd been a part of the church and knew the history. Awesome. Awesome. So we're seeing a lot of different ways that folks are becoming leaders, and we can think about the ways that we can cultivate that and invest in those areas and help make them happen. All right, let's jump ahead, Jared, to the next one. I really shouldn't have picked yellow. This says expanding young adult mission and ministry. So one thing we heard in the assessment phase and in the listening sessions is that there is this gap or this drop off in a lot of folks' pipeline between being a student and having kids. And there is a time where churches don't have intentional ministry that's reaching to young adults. So currently, Jared, we are hosting listening sessions with young adults all over the presbytery about current and about future ministry opportunities. We're connecting with campus ministry professionals about support for young adults in higher education. And so, how you can help? Are you someone who's passionate about this work? If so, you can take a picture of this slide and send your contact info to me at jocelyn@ferncliff.org. Also, you can let us know if your church is doing young adult ministry that you're excited about by filling out the visioning survey. Jared? So if you need a QR code for the visioning survey, I've got that here for you. You can also find it in the fellowship hall or by seeing Julie Price. All right, upcoming attractions. I haven't yet heard, are we there yet? But we're not. We're not there yet. Here are some things that we are not yet there on. So here we go. Jared. Perfect. Here's some things that the team has in the beginning stages. So one, the first of the things listed on the revolving goals is the church revitalization process. Our consultants have this phrase for this, ministry reimagination, which I really love. So they are working right now on a draft of some ministry reimagination processes that will come to y'all at our next meeting about. We also are in process on a presbytery fundraising plan. And so we've been discussing in our team some various pieces of that. We'll bring that next time as well. Small church support is next on our agenda in the team to start working on. And then also the new worshiping community incubation process we have just barely scratched the surface on. So coming soon, some foreshadowing here. These things are coming in the future. Jared, some other things. Some of these are related and not. So this is some other stuff that the strategic planning leadership team is working on next. Lovely. We are working with our ministry architects consultants on a presbytery staffing model. So we've been looking, each of the presbytery staff positions has met with our consulting team, and they have been putting together some drafts of what that might look like. So one thing we're exploring is options for the general presbyter position and maybe dividing that into 2 positions. Many of you know that a person who maybe recently might have served in the position of general presbyter maybe worked like 1,000 hours. Like he might have superhero powers to like turn back time. So it's possible that we might want to split that position among 2 people. So one thing we're exploring is one position focusing on like vision and innovation, diversity and partnerships, and then another position focused on operations. That's like admin, finance, and care of our churches. Operations would be the one that we've most classically had. So the new one would be like vision and innovation. Another thing we're exploring is a very part-time development director position. And I just received a rationale from our consultants that I'll read for you for this one. It's becoming increasingly clear that traditional per capita funding will not be sufficient to sustain the work of the presbytery beyond the level of survival, an approach that almost guarantees that the presbytery will eventually begin to experience diminishing impact. In order to sustain a level of ministry that strategically and faithfully supports and expands the work of Presbyterian churches in Arkansas, specific attention will need to be given to identifying alternate sources of funding, including grants, missional giving campaigns, estate giving, and perhaps even social enterprises. Moving in these new directions will require focused hours dedicated to this work, an investment that will likely pay for itself in the first year, with a reasonable expectation of an exponential return on this investment in the position as deliberate attention is given to this priority year after year. So these are some things that we're working through right now. Next slide, Jared. We will be bringing this to the spring meeting for input. So when we come to the spring meeting in February, we will have job descriptions for those positions and a full model for our presbytery staff, and be ready for feedback and input at that time. Another thing we've been working on is making sure, oh, that also is barely visible. So what is barely visible on the screen is a screenshot of the Presbyark website. So we do have a page. The strategic planning team has a page on the Presbytery website where we're keeping updates. And we're also putting updates in the Presbytery newsletters, the email newsletters. If you don't get the Presbytery update email newsletters, please see Julie Price. She would love to get you those. So we're kind of trying to make sure that y'all are a part of this process and know exactly where we are along the way. So you can find updates on the website. You can also find them in the email newsletters. If you don't get those, please see Julie Price. Okay, next slide, Jared. All right, we've made it to the end. If you have thoughts, questions, comments, suggestions, etc., you can email me at jocelyn@springcliff.org, or really contact me however you want. If you have carrier pigeons that are trained to find people, like you can send me one of those. Anything really. Or you could also fill out the Presbytery meeting survey, which Julie will talk about at the end of the meeting. There is a spot there for questions and comments for the SPLT, and Julie Price will be able to get those to us. So any of those thoughts, concerns, questions, comments, hopes, dreams, or if you want to let me know that you are passionate about any of these areas, please let me know. We're excited about this work. Our team is continuing to meet and work on these things. We have really good consultants helping us along the way. So this is a dreaming time. This is a drafting time. And this is a good time to say, what is God doing in this presbytery and how can we get on board with it? So thank you for your time. And at this point, Mr. Moderator, that concludes my report.